Hey guys, I am Louis Jeremita, founder of Aspiring Gent and Primo Tailoring. Today, you are walking through another tutorial with me on how to take in the waist of your pants. Now, I do have a more in-depth tutorial on my website if you want to see the ins and outs of how a professional tailor takes in and lets out your pants. You can check it out there. We go through all kinds of tips, tricks, things to avoid, and some other alternative ways of taking in the waistband of your pants. But otherwise, this is gonna be the YouTube version, which is quick, concise, and to the point. So without further ado, we're gonna get into the marking phase of taking in your pants. So let's talk about marking your pants for taking it in first. When you are wearing the pants or a customer is wearing the pants, you're just going to pinch the back fabric on the waistband until it feels comfortable on you or the client. So then from here, you're going to mark on either side of your finger, determining how much needs to come in. This is all you need to do for the waistband part. If you're doing this on yourself and you can't really reach around the back and get a good accurate measurement, do it on the side, and then you're just going to translate that mark to the back as soon as you take the pants off. Then you want to determine how low down you need to taper these pants, and this will change depending on the body type. For myself, it's going to come right down here on the butt. In this way, you can tell, the way you can tell is just how much room is in the butt area of the pants. So just kind of keep pinching it in till it looks really good and clean around the back, and just mark on either side of your fingers. Another thing to keep in mind is if you are taking in way too much in your pants, there is a way to go around this without having your pockets pretty much come in touch together. And that is taking it up through the side. That's cutting the waistband, redoing the whole side, and taking it in about an inch. Whatever the distance is from the side of this, where this pocket is, to that seam, you got pretty much half of that to take in. So there are ways to work around it, and if you'd like to see that video, let me know and maybe I'll put something together for you guys. So now we want to open up this waistband as much as needed to make it easy to get in here and start sewing. So there'll be usually 2 tacks right here at the bottom. I'm gonna open up to the side, some tacks over here. Just give yourself some room to work. Alrighty, so here we go. We have, so we can lay the 2 pieces as flat as possible. Now before we go ahead and get rid of the marks, get a measurement for how much we're taking in. So for the back of this one, we are taking in 2.5 inches, and then into the seat we're taking in about 1.5 inches, and then we're gonna taper it somewhere in here. So like that. So we're gonna go from 2.5 to 1.5 inches, down to nothing, down at the bottom there. So with your iron nice and hot, we're going to press this seam down. Alrighty, so another helpful thing to note is when you're putting down your marks here, we needed 2.5, but if we mark 2.5, you're going to be taking in way more than you need because it's going to double. You're taking it in from both sides of the fabric. So for me, at 2.5, we are going to shorten that to about 1.25 inches, because at 1.25 inches, that'll double to 2.5. So keep that in mind when you're marking so that you don't go too aggressively. Make sure you're finding where that old seam is, because you don't want to go off the edge of the fabric or you'll be a little too short. Then we're taking in 1 inch here. So we're going to go 1/2 inch, just like that. We're going to connect the dots and then taper back into where we want it to be normal, just like that. Now a few things to note. If you are just beginning at this, you're going to want to try these few methods to make sure everything lays perfectly. So when taking in the waist of a pair of pants, there are a few problem areas, namely this part. This is where the seam of the waistband is, right across here. You want that to line up as perfectly as possible. As you can see on this one, not very good. We want to make that as straight as possible. So you want to go on in the inside, add some pins, pinch your fabric, make sure that it's laying where you want it, throw a pin in. And as you get better, you're going to need less and less pins, but in the meantime, just pin it. That way you know it's going to be set there. The next thing you want to do is stretch this all flat, and you want it to come to the edge of the waistband as perfectly as possible. You don't want one edge higher than the other. So make sure those line up, and then put a pin just off to your mark so you don't run over it with your machine, and that should be good. So whether you're taking it in or letting it out, just take it to your machine. I am using a straight stitch on a 2 to 2.5 stitch length using an all-purpose Tex 40 thread. Make sure that the thread matches your project as best as possible. I'm just using this black to kind of show you guys what I'm doing, but make sure it matches. Sew down, you want to go about 1 inch into the original stitching and then all the way up, back tacking at the top of the waistband. So here you have it, your new stitching is in, your original stitching now needs removed. At this point you want to check, make sure that your bottom seam lines up perfectly, and that is looking smooth, you guys. Finish nicely up at the edge. Now we just got to remove this old stitch. If it's a chain stitch and this is the original pant, you are in luck. I've shown in other videos on how to just pick out the right stitch and pull it all the way. Unfortunately, I have altered these already, so I need to grab my seam ripper, get to picking at that old stitch right here. So let's do that now. Now we have this seam all the way open. I'm just going to take out some of these loose threads, but next we're going to move over to the iron to press everything nice and flat and get ready to finish up our waistband. So with your seam nice and ready to go, we are going to open it flat so that you have both edges going to their respective sides. I use a buck like this. You can use the edge of your ironing board, or if you have to lay it flat on the table, take a little bit longer, but you'll get it done. Here we go. We are going to press this nice and open. This also is the same exact method for when you're letting it out. We just want to make sure that this lays clean because this will give you the best look across the buttocks as possible. All right, so with everything flat, roll over the waistband. All right, now this part we want to take a pin and we want to pin on this seam of the waistband. You're going to go in on this side, make sure it's coming out on the seam on that side. Boop. You're going to go right back into that seam and then out this seam. This is going to prepare us for closing up the waistband when we're done here. So there are 2 ways of tacking down a waistband. I will show you this one on this YouTube video. If you want to see the other one, you can go check it out on my website like I had mentioned before, link in description. But this is the one I use the most. So you're going to have your pin right in this seam here, and you're going to pull out all the inside fabric, leaving the outside and the inside layers. So you should have something that looks like this. From here, you want to go from this original seam that we just sewed about 1/2 inch to about 3/4 up, and we're going to take this over to our machine and we're just going to sew straight down there. Make this into a little triangle so it doesn't pop out. We're just going to put a stitch line right down there, and you're going to do it on both sides. The only thing is on this side it's going to be from the back end just because how the fabric flips. So again, 1.5 inches, 3/4. Sew straight down on your machine, and then this will keep everything tacked from coming up. So here we are coming to the end. If you've taken this pair of pants, tacked it down here just like that, that ain't coming nowhere. We're gonna take this over to the iron. You wanna press it, make sure that everything looks super clean, and then you're gonna try it on yourself or the customer, make any fine tunes that you need to, but if you followed this and did the marking properly, you should be good. And once you have this all nicely pressed with your iron, we are going to go try it on so you can see how well we did. So let's get going. So would you look at that? This pair of pants hugs your butt and waist so well. You're not gonna have any more of those times where you're gonna have to readjust your pants and make sure that they're on your waist. You probably don't even need a belt at this point, but you did it all the way through, whether you had to let out or take in. So hopefully you guys liked this tutorial. Thank you guys for making it all the way through the end of this tutorial, and hopefully you learned something. Either way, whether you did it well or you're still practicing, you should be proud of yourself for taking a crack at it. Now, if you did like this and found it informative, leave a like or a share or a comment. This will help get this video out to more people so that they can also learn this skill. On the flip side, if you had some questions or it didn't turn out quite how you thought it should, hit me up in the comments or shoot me a message on any of my other social media channels, also linked down below. Make sure that you are subscribed to this channel so you don't miss another tailoring tutorial that I got to throw out to you guys, and also just show some love to the channel. And if you'd like to see the more in-depth video, check it out on my website. But otherwise, guys, it was a pleasure working with you, and I will see you next time.